Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, good friend and partner in crime, Amanda Suffecool. Amanda, of course, you've seen her here many times before. She is one of the people behind Eye on the Target Radio. Amanda, for those that may not know, I am your video producer for a radio show.
Right. Doesn't that make sense?
Yes. Eye on the Target Radio does go live on YouTube, OpsLens, Facebook every Sunday, and I'm the one that produces the video for the radio show. And on Sunday, you had a really interesting story you talked about in the second hour of your show that I really haven't heard a lot about anywhere else, and I kind of wanted to open the show today talking about that a little bit, if you don't mind. We all remember that there was this big hullabaloo in Michigan where a bunch of people were arrested, and the FBI claims they wanted to try and kidnap Governor Whitmer. And now it turns out the FBI may be a lot more involved than they first seemed.
Can you spell culpable? Right?
I'm telling you.
It started and it came out. I mean, you're right. When we saw that there was a plan to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, it was like it was the biggest story, and then all of a sudden it just kind of poof went away. And at that point, I looked at Rob, and Rob looked at me, and we were like, "Wow, it should have had a lot more legs than that, just because it's Gretchen Whitmer, and she's a Democrat, and it's in a state that is a really highly contested state. So this should be news," and it didn't. Well, the interesting thing is, what's come out now was the fact that more than 50% of the people that were in the so-called militia that started all of this were FBI informants, were FBI employees, were FBI. So they were connected and tied to the FBI. And what is coming out now is the fact that one of them provided this information, and one of them provided the plan, and one of them provided. So had those individuals not been there, this kidnapping attempt wouldn't have happened, because they were the brains and the strategists behind the operation.
And most of them were paid informants.
So, part of them are paid informants, and the other ones were paid employees.
Yeah.
So they were actually undercover FBI agents. And some more is coming out right now, because one of them just got into a can't say swinging singles because he's not single. So into a swingers, some kind of a altercation with his wife, because she wasn't happy with the swingers, whatever that was. And so he's been arrested for bashing her head against a table.
Oh. And
she said that she only got freed because she'd grabbed his beard and tried to pull it. So then he hit her again. So she grabbed him by the goji berries, and he finally let go of her.
That tends to happen when guys get grabbed there. Yeah.
So yes. So that's the newest thing. So he has been arrested. So it comes out that he was the key face of this whole kidnapping, and he's the person that has been going to the press, going to the courts, trying to work to prosecute all of the people that they have been involved in. And now he doesn't have any credibility, not because of his swingers thingy, but because he then beat up his wife. So is he a credible, great guy to begin with? Right? So they've got some issues. And there is a lot of lawyers who are saying it sounds like entrapment. And they are saying right now that that the sting operation is the same sort of strategy and sting operation that they use targeting Islamic extremists. And so this was that. The group that they had tried to infiltrate to start with was a Second Amendment sanctuary group. And they got Facebook to pull their page. They got all of these other things. But the group was trying to get a Second Amendment sanctuary within the state. And this was a way to shut that down.
Kevin asks, so the FBI and informants planned to kidnap a Democratic governor, and now that's our fault?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole lot to it. So, I mean, right now, here's the thing. Use the Google and start to look up FBI informants in kidnapping Gretchen Whitmer, because it had been quiet. Now there is story after story after story that are all coming out in the 20s to, in the last week from all over the place. It's talking about what they did and how they did it and who was in and what's going on. But it really is that the FBI has serious egg on their face, and their credibility is already being called into question on other things. Mm-hmm. This is just going to add to it if the story gets enough legs in the mainstream media, but it hasn't. So the articles and the stories are coming out of The Intercept, and they're coming out of, I don't remember where they're, but it's there and it's credible, but it's not making the mainstream news.
Against my better judgment, I think I'm going to put up a comment by Charlie Cook.
Uh-oh.
Who wants to know what goji berries are? Being that this is a family-rated show, Charlie, Google is your friend.
Use your imagination there, Charlie. So, Charlie questions my word choice a lot. We'll just say.
So, and I can already, I imagine there are going to be some questions coming up. How is it, because I try to keep everything Second Amendment related here. How is that Second Amendment related? If they're willing to do this, and remember, this started when Trump was in power.
Right. This is Second Amendment related because this plan was created to take down the credibility of a Second Amendment sanctuary group that had more than 100,000 members on social media, and they poofed them all. So they disconnected them, poofed them, lost all of their contacts, and like they did some of the other organizations, then all of the people who were leaders or moderators or whatever, they lost their personal pages also.
Well, and if they're willing to do this when being led by Trump, what do you think they're going to do when being led by Harris? Or as Biden, as the case may kind of be now.
Right.
It's we have to be vigilant. And if you are the leader of, like our good friend Kevin Sona is one of the leaders of Florida, Carrie, if you are,
right.
If you are in a Second Amendment group right now and you're in leadership, keep your nose beyond clean, and B,
pay attention to your friends and connections, because they're not all your friends.
Have a personal connection with is in the federal government, because chances are, if there's more than one of them talking, at least one is.
Right, they're not your friend, and so they'll come and befriend you, but that doesn't mean that they are your friend.
So Charlie Cook says that's a crock of cheese.
I've heard that saying.
I've heard that's from somewhere before. That's no Gouda, telling you. But Kevin wants to know.
I like the fact that Charlie at least pays attention. Yeah.
He's so broke. That's one thing he can pay. That's about the only thing he can pay is attention.
Is attention.
Kevin wants to know, what are the odds the Capitol insurrection was planned and led by the FBI? I don't know about that. I don't know that there was an insurrection. Just to be very honest with you,
when you look at the videos, and there are some videos that show the Capitol Police opening up the Capitol, The question is, when did they? How did they decide that? All of those kind of things. But there is that investigation that's on TV right now that's going to tell you all those answers.
Oh.
So you get them all. But I don't know if you noticed this, because Jim Jordan is my guy. He's in my state, and they asked him and another guy that I didn't pay any attention to because he's not my guy. They told them that they could not be on that investigative committee. The only Republicans, because they say that they're a bipartisan group that's doing the investigation, the only Republicans they put on it were part of the 10 that voted to impeach Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. So they only picked the 10.
The rhinos, exactly.
These are worse than rhinos.
Yeah. Warsaw Patriot has a couple of comments I want to get in.
Okay.
He says, I know Snowden exposed the Patriot Act, and I wonder how bad this can be. And I want to get back. He followed that up with, especially when it comes to the feds.
I think that, as they say, the swamp is pretty murky, and I think that there is a lot to be discovered. And so one can only hope that the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they grind finely. And so it comes out the other end. We'll see what, everybody's waiting for the Durham report. How long has that been waiting? We'll have a kid in college by the time it comes out.
I want the whole Pelosi and the House investigation. That's
kabuki theater.
That's exactly what it is. We're going to see absolutely nothing come of that.
No. They're going to run that once a month, they said, because they're just going to have another investigation once a month. I wonder if those police officers can drag up enough tears each and every time. Did you see the one with the tattoo that runs up his neck? That I don't do prison tattoos, but others say that is a tattoo that is a sign that by the length of time that you were in prison. So any of you guys spiderweb tattoo on your neck experts? Because I want to know about that, and I don't know about that, but that would be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. We got to, going back to Charlie's question here. I want to get one from David Rosenthal in here to answer Charlie's question. David Rosenthal says in Jersey we call them stones.
Okay, so we're going to get into an entire conversation about what do we call the goji berries all over the United States. Is that where this show is going? And I'm not sure that how that applies to the Second Amendment.
Maybe we should make a little bit of a right-hand turn here. I don't know. I'm thinking. Warsaw Patriot's got another great question. Here's a question. Is the ATF and FBI working together or separately? I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you. I don't have... My crystal ball kind of cracked when I had my stroke. I don't know.
I don't... I think that's a legit question.
Yes.
But there's so many different alphabet agencies. Which ones are working where? Which ones are working within the United States, outside the United States? They're not supposed to be inside the United States, but they are. Those kinds of things. So there is that level of responsibility. I don't know that we have faith in that any longer. That's sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Ravenwolf, thank you, man. I want to get this one up there. It's been a rough day. You guys always lift my spirits. Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
There you go. I'm not sure which part of it. Was it the stones that lifted his spirits, or just knowing that the FBI isn't our friend?
All right. Spiderweb tattoo has been a long-time symbol of incarceration. It's been a symbol of serving time behind bars for decades. And that was, from those of you that see me kind of look over to the side and hold a cell, my wife Susan came and showed me the same thing. So
that's it. So one of the guys who testified, who is supposed to be a Capitol Police officer, has a giant spiderweb tattoo clear up his neck. So the question is, could he be a Capitol police officer then? Or is there Capitol private security, and will the Capitol private security be allowed to do that?
Why, and that spiderweb tattoo means what it's supposed to mean. Are they hiring people who've been incarcerated? If so, why?
Right. So those are questions. Inquiring minds. Remember that? Remember that 1980s? Inquiring minds want to know. That's where I'm at.
And that's the level of investigative journalism we're going to get out of the House committee as well.
Right.
Because they're going to, all we're going to get is the, because that was the National Enquirer that did the inquiring minds want to know.
Want to know. Right.
But I think the National Enquirer will probably do better than the House committee. I'm thinking the House committee is going to get us more weekly world news type news stories.
Oh, it's just sound bites to help an election.
There you go.
Yeah, in some manner.
And we're going to keep getting these investigations until, honestly, right around January of 2023.
I think that they found that these work. Distraction, squirrel, everybody's looking in different directions. I think they found that they work. Sort of like the distractions when they accuse somebody of sexual impropriety, whether they are or they're not, and they've used that to shut down political careers. So in this case, they can use this, and they're finding that it works. So I think we're in for the long haul with this. I think we're going to get this over and over and over again.
Great comment here. Ravenwolf says, former crooks know how crooks work.
There you go. There you go. Your life of experience is what you draw upon.
And Michael Schmidt agrees with you. Bingo. So, all right. There's a couple more things I want to get into. We've burned up half of the show so far.
Okay.
Next one I want to get into is Nikki Fried down in Florida. She is the agriculture secretary. She is a person in Florida who oversees, who's the person in charge of issuing carry permits. Mm-hmm. And she made news a couple days ago by revoking 26 of them. And the reason she gave for revoking these 26 permits is these people were in Washington, D.C. when the insurrection happened.
Right.
No charges have been filed. She just yanked her.
So is Florida a shall issue state or a may issue state?
They're shall issue.
Okay, so which means that those people should file charges immediately. Because it shall issue.
Yeah.
They had it. And so they cannot, so there are very few things that you could be accused of that while it's working its way through the system, you're considered guilty until proven innocent, and that is like the domestic violence stuff. The rest of this, if there's not charges pressed, because if you have a pending felony that they're adjudicating, then they potentially could. But if there's no charges filed, it's a shall issue state. I think the Florida carry guys ought to contact those people and then contact some lawyers, because I'm sure that they know some at SAF or Firearms Policy Coalition or one of those places.
Even Florida carry has some of their own lawyers.
Okay. Well, I think that this is a worthy cause that could get them some really good press, and it could do some good work for a series of patriots who cared enough about what was happening to go to our nation's capital. So they went 1,000 miles away from home and now are being prosecuted for being in Washington. The interesting part is that were they in the Capitol? Were they in the Capitol? Were they at the Capitol? Were they in Washington, D.C.? How did they identify that they were there? because they saw videos of them, because they used their credit cards, because they pinged their cell phones, because they're using all of those things to track where you are and what you're doing.
Yes.
So when the COVID lockdown, I've got a friend who shall remain nameless, who needed to go to another state because there was something going on that they had to be there. And they were so concerned that they actually shut off their cell phone and only used cash to travel, to buy gas and everything. And I thought, man, are you paranoid? And now I have revoked that thought, rethought it.
Man, were you smart.
Man, were you prepared? That's it really is, because it's back to that sentence of, you know, it's not really paranoia if they are really out to get you.
I want to get this in. Kevin Sona, who, by the way, those of you who don't know Kevin, he is part of Florida Carry. He's one of the district leaders of Florida Carry. Mm-hmm. We don't know if any charges have been filed. Under Florida law, if you're charged with a felony, your license is automatically suspended. But I think that has to be a state felony, doesn't it? Because otherwise, if it's, I mean, does the federal system talk to the Florida system? You know, I don't
know. But the question is that she said that the charges, because she made some buffoonish, wild statements that didn't allude to the felony charges. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Kevin says until someone comes forward saying they had their license suspended without being charged, we, meaning Florida Carry, can't do anything.
Can't do anything.
Yeah.
We'll put out the call and ask for them. Find out who the 26 are. Send your folks to dig. You know, we inquiring minds. We want to know who they are. Well, we don't need to. I don't need to know who they are. I mean, the public doesn't need to know who they are. But somebody needs to know who they are to sufficiently to be able to say, do you need help?
Couple of comments from Warsaw Patriot, who is on fire today. What really worries me is our justice system, federal and state, is becoming like a communist law system, where the court makes up any wrongful arrest and any wrongful charge. You followed up with due process should never be removed in our constitutional system.
I'm with you.
In Poland, they arrested people who rescued Jews against the communist Soviets and Polish government, and they were tried and executed. And he finished up with, this was under the communist administration of Poland. Yeah.
Right. I'm telling you, I agree with you 100%, Warsaw Patriot.
And then Donald Hobson has a great comment in here. So, if you were in Washington, D.C. that day to say, visit the Smithsonian, Florida will yank your permit? This needs to be challenged. Oh, yeah, it does. And
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Yeah, it's how did they find out? What did they do? How did they pick these 26? And were they the only 26 there?
Yeah. And think about it. There were, I would imagine, even in my small population, we've got about 700,000 in the state of South Dakota. I would bet you there were at least 26 people in my state on January 6th.
Right.
From my state in D.C.
In D.C. Our state sent busloads. And so that was the interesting thing is there were busloads. I actually knew a couple people who I got texts from them. One of them had been rubber bulleted and another one had been pepper sprayed. Wow. So I called them names. But
Michael Schmidt over on the YouTube side says YouTube is belching. I'm sorry, man. I hate it that YouTube is being rude to you. If you're having issues, jump over to the Facebook side, man. And I think we're pretty much caught up on.
Okay. Well, you guys have been on fire with comments. That makes it so much fun because you know that you're there and you're interacting and you're watching and you're seeing attention. It and thinking. Yeah, you're seeing it and thinking what we're thinking, or you're thinking counter to what we're thinking, and you're making us think harder. All of that is good stuff, and I appreciate it. It makes it easy to be a guest on the show.
I want to bring up one more story, and this is one I used to write a lot for the gun mag, and since my stroke, it is really hard for me to do writing. And I'm slowly getting back to that. I had an article hit yesterday about the gun mag. That's at thegunmag.com. And I want to talk about this one a little bit. On August 15th, South Carolina is expanding their gun rights. If you have a concealed carry permit in South Carolina, if you choose to now, you can open carry. Okay. Well, except the city of Charleston doesn't like that. And so they've gone and if you're going to any function in the city of Charleston, you can no longer open carry. The only issue is they're calling any protest a function. And under the city's definition of protest, a protest can be one single person. So if you put on a pro-gun t-shirt and strap onto your hip and it can be seen even a little bit, you can be charged because you are protesting and you're open carrying. Thereby, the open carry law doesn't apply now in Charleston.
So the question is do they have preemption down there, and is Charleston just making it up, or do they have any teeth in it? Because I'll tell you, in the state of Ohio, there were so many mayors that were like, that's not going to apply in my city, and it cost them $4, $5, $6 million to lose the case.
There was preemption in South Carolina until this new open carry with training came through, and what it took for this open carry to get through was preemption for this law had to go away. So
why? They negotiated it away, or there was something in it that...
No, they negotiated it away. And so, and Kevin Sona was thinking right along those same lines. But yeah, no, there is no preemption for the open carry law. So, yeah, what I want to bring up, the reason I wanted to bring this up is, if you're an open carry advocate, I think tactically, I think open carry is a mistake. I will fight for your right to do it, but I don't think tactically it's the smartest move in the world. However, if you are an open carry person, don't do it in Charleston, even though state law says you can, because city law says you cannot.
Until you get it all sorted out, until somebody takes them to task.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. I want to get two more in. Raven Wolf says, Amanda, I thought I saw you at the last OGCA. I don't know what OGCA is.
Ohio Gun Collectors Association, and yes, you did, and I bought a gun.
Oh, oops, okay.
Wait. Yeah, no, Rob and I were there walking around, and I found out that I have really expensive taste, and most of the guns that caused me to stop and look at them were between $15,000 and $17,000 a piece.
Wow.
So, yeah, that wasn't the one I bought though, but there was some pretty cool stuff there.
I can remember not terribly awfully long ago that new cars were $15,000 to $17,000.
Yeah.
So, it has been 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but...
So, Raven Wolf, the next time you see me at OGCA, stop and say hey.
Warsaw Patriot says, Paul, I also know this historically because I watched the documentary on YouTube, Genocide, covers all atrocity of the Soviet government, Ukrainian, UPA, and Germany. If we don't learn from history will repeat itself in reality.
Oh, so true. So true.
All right. Well, I think we're right at the bottom of the hour. So
look at that.
These half an hour just goodbye.
Magically.
Zoom.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, if I could, we're at the bottom of the hour, but I want you to plug what's coming up on your show this coming Sunday.
Oh, so this coming Sunday, I am having Lanny Barnes come on, who is a biathlete Olympian that has been at the Olympics 3 times. And I want her, we're going to be talking about the shooting sports and the Olympians that have been participating and how the national news has actually mentioned them.
Yeah.
Imagine that, right? So, yeah, well, they did until Simone Biles thing happened, but they were talking about them.
Well, and
Go
Lanny
figure.
Barnes, I was fortunate enough, and you were present, that she was on Polite Society one time, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that interview. And holy cow, talk about and I'm going to stretch the words I like to use here by a little bit. What a badass. I mean, she is the real deal, and wow, just to think about what biathletes think about what they do, cross-country skiing at a really, really rapid pace, and then all of a sudden you stop and you get that gun up and you get on target, and you got to get that shot off quickly, and then right away again you're gone.
You go, move on. The interesting part about her is if you are a Facebookian, go to Facebook and look up, I think her page is called Lanny Oakley, like Annie Oakley with an L. Mm-hmm. Lanny Oakley. And she continues to work out and practice to where she shoots the Texas Star while she's riding a unicycle.
Wow!
She balances on the giant yoga ball and shoots down all kinds of stuff. I mean, so she's always doing core-driven exercises and shooting at the same time. It's amazing. So, and she is probably the world's nicest person.
I would agree with that. With the limited amount of contact I've had with her, I would absolutely agree with that. And here I have challenges walking and chewing gum at the same time. So. Oh,
she is so amazing, and you every time you try to do something where you're stretching your horizons or trying something new or whatever, and if you put it out there, she is your biggest cheerleader. You know, with what can she do to help? How can she do? She is just amazing, and so I'm very, very pleased to have her on the show talking about this. But you guys would benefit from just kind of keeping an eye on her.
And you can catch that on the Polite Society podcast YouTube and Facebook channel, or Eye on the Target Radio if you want to catch the over-the-air. It's a nationally syndicated radio program. If you don't necessarily want to catch the video feed, go to Eye on the Target Radio. You can catch the radio feed from any one of a number of different stations across the country.
Right.
All right.
We're working on that. We're growing that.
Absolutely. You know? We're going to go ahead and set this one aside then. Amanda, thank you so much for helping me out today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, come join me again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to have Alex Uli joining us for our normal Friday afternoon legal discussion. We're going to be talking about levels of, and my brain just went dead as I was starting to pull that out, levels of scrutiny is what we're talking about tomorrow. Join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. Thank you for watching, everybody.